12 tribes of Israel. 7:21. The Assyrian king, he took us down, we fell. With a great escape we went through the Euphrates. The Lord held the waters still. To a land where no mankind dwelt, we went. The 12 tribes of Israel. Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Simeon, the Dominicans, the Arabs and Africans told us at gunpoint to gather our wives and children, then sold us. In the belly of these great ships we traveled in fear. By the rivers of Babylon we found our brothers here. Ahia, gather us. Whoa. Ahia's gathering Israel. Oh. Ink pen. From Lawya, Cubans from Australia. That's who we be, we be. The Haitians, Shalom. The Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Oh. Ahia is gathering Israel. Shalom, brothers and sisters. This is Elder Rawchaa, the Gathering of Christ Church, saying shalom to my brothers and sisters throughout the four corners of the earth. We here with a timely, I would say a well-timely discussion for us tonight. You understand? And I'm opening this up for opinion, solution, a dialogue today. Normally on the Sabbath we have a teaching where you're just hearing the elders go through the teachings that the Most High has inspired us to, to go over and bring forth for the edification of the word. Now, of course, we're edifying this evening, but we want a discussion this evening. Why? Because we're coming into some trying times in which family is going to be needed. Men are going to be needed. Sisters backing their men will be needed. Family together will be needed to go through this last, I would call, leg of Jacob's trouble. They're building a wall. Now, most people have no understanding. They're just following exactly what the media is pushing with this wall thing, not realizing that if a wall is built, not only is it going to keep people out, it's going to keep us in. And I don't see anyone out there actually talking about this. And some serious planning and circling the wagon, so to speak, must happen. Again, for those who've just come in, I'm Elder Rawchaa, the Gathering of Christ Church, and we're going to talk about a serious topic this evening, well overdue for years. We've had broadcasts, but not to this magnitude in which we're actually beseeching our people to understand the times we're in, to actually come back to the Most High and for men to pull up their bootstraps and get ready for a serious engagement. So we cannot deal with what's to come if we don't begin to discuss some of the things, some of the issues we have as a people that could be, that can be portrayed or, explained as, to some degree, shameful. If we don't begin to speak about the disgusting things that's going on that we allow within our communities and actually deal with them once and for all. Hence, our discussion. Okay? Now, mind you, brothers and sisters, we're going to have an open dialogue today, which will actually lead to a conclusion. And so that there's no level of digression with this particular topic, we're only going to tackle this for only 2 hours this evening. And we're going to pick it up next week on the woman side. But today we're talking about the men. Chiefly, we'll be talking about the family in general, but focusing on the man. And next week, we're going to do one strictly speaking about the woman. Check out our topic of discussion this evening. The curse of the over-emotional man. The curse of the over-emotional man. A curse. Doesn't it seem in this world that it's almost criminal to be a man? What's going on in which a man cannot exercise the spirit of masculinity, the spirit of strength that the Most High have bestowed on a man? We're going to deal with that. But we want to really focus on the curse of the over-emotional man. And we're going to tackle this from different angles. Elder Lawya, are you with me?
Yes, sir. Shalom.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you're there. Listen to how we're going to handle this, Elder Lawya. There's a difference between a man made by the Most High according to the Most High and a male gender within our society. First of all, we allowed science to minimize what a man is according to the Most High by first cutting the legs from up under us, calling us instead of men, males. Because there's a certain level of strength that comes with the word man. So they diluted it decades ago, the strength of that word man, and minimized that man to a male. And by us accepting that, we already relegated some level of strength. I have Josh. Y'all can't see him. I may bring him in later, but he's my arm bearer in case I need some sources to go to. I can have him go grab those for us. Brother Josh from the UK. We have also, Gabar. He's under the weather right now, and he really wanted to be a part of this evening, but I told him I got it. I'll handle it this evening, myself and Elder Lawya. But going back to the point, we've already relegated men at some of our strength by letting science determine who we were by minimizing our title. See, there's no place in the Bible that talks about, a male per se. There's male and females, but out of that, when you're born male or female, grows a man or a woman. You understand? You come out, the doctor looks between the legs and see, okay, it's a male or female, and that child grows to what? Man or woman. Don't let no one confuse you. There's only two. There's either one or the other. See, but something is going on in this world in which the satanic Baphomet, the male and female spirit under the satanic Baphomet, the androgynous spirit, okay, the crossing of the two is more so being promoted as the norm, and it has affected men immensely on every level by stealth. And it's upon us to figure out this psyop that has been done to us. Men, we're under attack. So I want to talk about this, the curse of the over-emotional male, folks. This androgynous spirit that they would like us all to accept. Minimizing who we are and what God made. And you understand? The power of what God created in us. I hear over and over again the strength of a strong woman, and that's good. But you very rarely hear anyone speak of the strength and the power of a strong man now. You notice that? There's no examples, or I would say media promotion, of what a strong man looks like. Why? It's being pushed down our throat, this campaign of strong woman, strong woman, strong woman. Why? If something is really strong or has that much power, it needs little promotion, right? Now, I'm not a thing of, I'm not in this scenario or this discussion to create a discussion man against woman, because that's an actual futile and ridiculous discussion. Okay? It's a ridiculous discussion. Why? Because one is subjected to the other. And without the two together, life ceased to exist. So I'm not bringing out this discussion like some might believe and saying, well, let's get on the men because I'm pro-woman, or vice versa. We're both under attack. Male, female, that grows to man and woman. We're both under attack. Satan, the androgynous confusion spirit, would like to play the middle and have us battle each other until we're both crushed to powder. We're both crushed underfoot. But right now, our discussion is the curse of the over-emotional man. There's a difference between the male gender of what they're pushing in this earth and a man according to God. But if you would like, if you're one who don't believe in God, or you're non-religious at this point, okay, and you know there's something out there, well, I'm going to talk to you too. We're going to speak about that too. I'll speak to you. Give us your opinion on how to overcome this curse of the over-emotional man, because I don't know about you. Aren't you tired of being ran in a system that's using women as a proxy to destroy your inherent strength? Think about it. Aren't you tired of that? Aren't you tired of being censored and controlled? With the system using unlearned women by proxy? Now, they're victims too. So the only way we can get to the bottom of this is to understand our purpose, what we are to each other, man and woman, and also do away with all of what you would call the promoted, what you would call gender spiritual warfare against us. Find out what it is, get rid of it, don't accept it. But let me not, like I say over and over again, put the cart before the horse. Let's go in. The curse of the over-emotional man. Now, brothers and sisters, the God of the Bible is calling men everywhere to stand in boldness against the adversary in these last days. A war is coming. We've been born in it. I'm going to show you some examples of that war. But how can we stand without the knowledge of what exactly is a man? Can you tell me? According to this society, What is a man? That's number one. And above all, how can men stand when we're taught in this wicked society, listen, to act like women? We're taught that the only accepted behavior is a woman's nature. You notice that? The world don't want a man. The world wants what? A gentle man. Now, what they've confused us with is to have us believe that a man cannot be stern, strong, and still loving. They've confused the two. When really, family, a household, needs balance. You just can't have children being run by a nurturing spirit. It's an imbalance. Discipline must level that nurturing that comes from the feminine. It's a balance. So how can we overcome the curse of the over-emotional man? And we're going to get to the bottom of how we've become as men so emotional, over-emotional, because you know what? Caring is a good attribute. But we must temper that caring with a man's wisdom. We must temper that. Okay? Christ was caring, loving, our Lord and Savior, the sacrifice. The Son of Man, the first begotten of the Father. There wasn't a more caring man that have ever walked the face of the earth. But the Bible tells us Christ was also an austere man. There was nothing feminine about him. Okay? There was nothing soft about Christ. But no one can find a more caring and sacrificing man throughout all of history. Why is this society afraid of a man like that? We're going to talk about it. Don't buy the status quo, the media portrayal of a man, and don't buy the status quo and think that a man cannot be strong, stern, and loving. Don't buy the liberal example of what a man is. Because what? The liberal example of a man in our society, folks, is androgynous. It's a homosexual. Let's talk about it. Let's address this issue right on. In an attempt to discuss this sensitive topic and come to an urgent resolve. We're going to come to an urgent resolve today. Okay? Okay, I see the chat going on YouTube. Do us a favor and make sure you hit the like so we can have others come into our discussion. Okay? If you would like to talk to us about this and call into our broadcast, we are the Gathering of Christ Church. I'm Elder Rawchaa. You can call. The phone number is 515-605-9327. Click the 1 to be placed in queue. I'll see you there in queue, and we'll discuss this. Discuss this curse of the over-emotional man. Now, I wrote some bullet points down today. I don't want to be all over the place, right? Need to keep this thing focused with only 2 hours, focused and structured. Now, my notes, right? And I have some scriptures, but I'm sure the wheels are turning in Lawya's head right now. And Josh, if you got something, I'm open for that too, right? Okay. Now, it's obvious that the world's government body want a large population of the men in this world. I'm not just speaking of black men right now. They would like a large majority of the population of the earth to be feminized. There's an agenda, a world agenda to feminize men throughout the four corners of the earth, and a man that shows any level of testosterone or masculinity could be deemed a terrorist. And I need y'all to answer that question. Why is the government pushing for gentle, soft men? So in order for us to, to undo the curse of the over-emotional man, we have to understand why they want our young men feminized. I'm going to leave it out there. I know a lot of you have a lot of different answers for that. Second, and I know Elder Lawya is keeping a point here. Why are we allowing? I'm talking about households now. Why are we allowing it? Why are we allowing the government agenda to destroy family and to feminize men? Why are we allowing this, seeing the repercussion and consequences of it? Or better yet, what are the contributing factors on our part that allow this? We know what the government is trying to do, right? We're just trying to figure out why. I have my understanding according to the Bible, but you can come with your opinion. But the other thing is, what is our contributing factors that's progressing the government's agenda in destroying young men? That's number two. Number three, and this is the most important question of them all. How can we fix it? How can we fix it? Now, let me show you something real quick. Right? Who we have here? Just some examples. Who we have here? Right? We have Jill Scott. Right? It so happens that, hold on, let me put this up here. Right? Right? Make it smaller so you all can see it. Right? This is Jill Scott. It so happened that Jill Scott was raised only about 1.5 miles from where I grew up at. Okay? Let me put her over here. Get it out of my way real quick. Right? Just put it on that side real quick. Right? She grew up about 1.5 miles from my house. Right? A matter of fact, she went to school. My brother went to school with her at Dobbins. And, very down-to-earth young lady, you understand, as far as I knew. Grew up around the same time, the neo-soul era in the 90s. Here it is on a magazine, a black magazine, showing us the example of a strong black family. Now, none of us are pushing back against this. Why? It's really the example of the majorities of families, households that young boys are being raised in. Now, mind you, every action, or what you would call every scenario a child grows up in, becomes their education of how to deal with issues or whatever the case might be. Now, this is no knock on Jill Scott or whatever the case is. I don't know what's going on in a household. I'm just showing you what the media is doing. The media is showing us that this is what a strong black family looks like. Right? Now, what will be the end result of this young little boy here? Not having a strong male presence when it comes to what? Resolution. Conflict resolution like a man this young man will be void of. The understanding of how to deal with conflict outside of your emotion with constructive wisdom that can only come from a male, this young man will be void of. So what are we raising here? We're raising a female with what? Male genitalia. That's what we're raising here. We're raising a female, a young man with female attributes, because what? That's all he's learning in the home. I'm just giving you an example. And the government is portraying this as if it's something positive. When we see the end result of these choices, whether it be the man or woman's fault, let's not even go into that real quick. We see the end result of children being raised without fathers, boys being raised without fathers, don't we? We see what? A high incarceration rate, along with a rise in homosexuality. Now, some might think that's just a coincidence, right? Let me show you this. Here's the next example. As the young man grows. Here's the next example. A young man being raised by a strong black woman. Now, my focus is not the black woman. She's probably doing the best she can. We'll talk about her next week. But what will this young boy grow to be? Not having a male example growing up. Why is the government pushing this so? You very rarely see today, brothers and sisters, you very rarely see an example of family anymore. Right? Now, I'm going to give you all an insight on a few of the conversations I've been having with families in the communities since that protest we did against at SOBs against Africa Bambaataa, and using that as a platform against pedophilia. Let me show you this. What we got here. What do we have here? Huh? What do we have here, folks? Lawya, I know you don't see this, but there's a young boy, 5 years old, with his eyebrows arched, with lipstick on. Right? And this boy is actually raised by a mother who's allowing this. Okay? Because she's not going to allow her son to grow up hiding his true desires, and will allow her son to be what he was born to be. You don't see this, Elder Lawya, but it's a young man by the age of 5 with lipstick on and his eyebrows arched. Brothers and sisters, I want you, I'm just illustrating this because Lawya isn't in front of me. I want him to understand what we're seeing here. No,
I'm actually watching the YouTube live. I see what you're looking at here.
You see it, Lawya? I'm glad you can see it. Is this not disgusting, young man? Is this not disgusting?
Yeah, this is a crying shame. It
breaks my heart that this is not deemed child abuse. And I'm going to tell you this right now. This child, this young boy, is a son of the Most High. The Most High God. This young boy is going to grow with so many issues. So many issues. He's not prepared to deal with the world he's about to enter. It's very disturbing. How is it this is not deemed, that this is not deemed abuse? we're going to just take you on a little trip real quick, because when they grow up, this is what we have. I need y'all to see this. At the end of the day, I'm going to put it over here. Brothers and sisters, when they grow, this is what they become. The curse of the over-emotional man. Next, just going through, just a few pictures. Look at this. Look at this, folks. And I can understand. I know a lot of sisters out there are saying, you know, we can't find any good men. But we're going to talk about that next week. If there are good men, will women allow a man to be a man? We're going to go into that next week. Because you have to realize part of the curse of the over-emotional man is the fact that a man's power has been systematically given over to the weaker sex. And I'm not saying the women are weaker. The Bible tells you, give honor to the woman as the weaker vessel. You can't understand her if you don't understand that there's things she deals with that a man could never understand. And by default, that makes her weaker. Okay? By default. The emotional stress that a woman have to deal with the Bible prophesying that the Most High would multiply her sorrows, which means the majority of decisions a woman makes is after worrying. Her worry leads her to resolution. Men don't have to deal with that. Okay? Men doesn't have to deal with that. A man could have the same worry as a woman, and a woman would never understand it. Why? Because men are thinkers. We don't talk out what's in our head until a solution. We deal with it between our ears, and we bring the solution. It's not as if we worry less, as far as we see the same issue you see, but we'll deal with it differently. Okay? We would deal with a different temperament, so to speak. Okay? But now, what I'm seeing, young men are not actually reasoning as men anymore. You notice that? They're reasoning like women. Number one, there is an obvious program in place to feminize men. The world body, the satanic androgynous world body, is trying to turn all men feminine. Let me give you an example real quick. One example. Where is, oh, right here. Look at this, folks. This is from Democracy Now! Democracy Now! Just a few moments. Listen to this, folks.
Story. Yes, now we turn to the story of a University of California scientist who discovered that a popular herbicide may have harmful effects on the endocrine system. Tyrone Hayes was first hired in 1997 by a company that later became agribusiness giant Syngenta. They asked him to study their product, atrazine, a pesticide that is applied to more than half the corn crops in the United States and widely used on golf courses and Christmas tree farms. But after Hayes found results that
this atrazine is used on corn crops and Christmas tree farms. Now imagine all the people in this world that's celebrating Christmas and have your child getting gifts from under that Christmas tree. Right? Listen to this.
The manufacturer did not expect that atrazine causes sexual abnormalities in frogs and could cause the same problems for humans. Syngenta refused to allow him to publish his work. This was the start of an epic feud between the scientist and the corporation.
Now a new article in the New Yorker magazine uses court documents from a class action lawsuit against Syngenta to show how it sought to prevent the Environmental Protection Agency from banning the profitable chemical, which is already banned by the European Union. To start with, the company's public relations team drafted a list of 4 goals. Reporter Rachel Aviv writes, quote, the first was, quote, discredit Hayes. In a spiral-bound notebook, Syngenta's communications manager, Sherry Ford, who referred to Hayes by his initials, wrote that the company could prevent citing of TH data by revealing him as non-credible. He was a frequent topic of conversation at company meetings. Syngenta looked for ways to exploit Hayes' false problems. If TH involved in scandal, Enviros will drop him, Ford wrote. Well, for more, we're joined by TH himself. That's right, Tyrone Hayes is with us, professor of integrative biology at the University of California, Berkeley, joining us from the campus TV station right now in Berkeley. Welcome to Democracy Now! Can you tell us what happened to you, how you were originally tied to Syngenta, the research you did, and what prevented you from originally publishing it?
Well, here at Berkeley, I was a new assistant professor. I was already studying the effects of hormones and the effects of chemicals that interfere with hormones on amphibian development, and I was approached by the manufacturer and asked to study the effects of atrazine, the herbicide, on frogs. And after I discovered that it interfered with male development and caused males to turn into females to develop eggs, the company tried to prevent me from publishing and from discussing that work with other scientists outside of their panel.
What was the process within the company as you raised your findings? What was their immediate reaction to what you had come across?
Well, initially they seemed sort of supportive. We designed more studies, we designed more analysis, and they encouraged me to do more analysis. But as the further analysis just supported the original finding, they became less interested in moving forward very quickly. And eventually they moved to asking me to manipulate data or to misrepresent data. And ultimately they told me I could not publish or could not talk about the data outside of their closed panel.
And Professor Hayes, talk about exactly what you found. What were the abnormalities you found in frogs, the gender-bending nature of this drug, atrazine?
Well, initially we found that the larynx or the voice box in exposed males didn't grow properly. And this was an indication that the male hormone testosterone was not being produced at appropriate levels. And eventually we found that not only were these males demasculized or chemically castrated, but they also were starting to develop ovaries or starting to develop eggs. And eventually we discovered that these males didn't breed properly, that some of the males actually completely turned into females. So we had genetic males that were laying eggs and reproducing as females. And now we're starting to show that some of these males actually show, I guess, what we call homosexual behavior. They actually prefer to mate with other males.
And so...
Okay, we're going to pause that for one moment and jump right in. We're going to pause that for one moment and jump right in, brothers and sisters. Lawya, you heard that? I know we've seen that years ago, but I wanted to put that out there, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm glad you've seen that. I wanted to put that out there real quick. All right, one moment. Why did I play that? I remember years ago when this particular study came out and all the chemical companies and pharmaceutical companies were rallying with how they were to deal with this information leaking out, no pun intended, throughout the society to the point where our people or all of us in the community community can realize that we were being chemically induced into certain behaviors. So what they did was a switch and bait and had Alex Jones come out and say they're making the freaking frogs gay, knowing the sensational spin they have with using Alex Jones as a conspiracy theorist, where most people that heard the story started focusing on frogs, opposed to the people that are being chemically affected by atrazine. They're spraying your foods with it, and now the children are growing up, young men, with feminine tendencies, and by the same token, it's making women hyper emotional. And they're growing up, and these particular chemicals are causing some serious emotional as well as clinical effects on women. But right now we're talking about the men right now. So we all know that we're being, now this is a case study out of colleges that have been proven by a college professor who studied this independently, was paid to do so also. Came with his studies, and they said, well, we understand that, but we need you to fudge the data and not leak out your findings. Right? Turning young boys feminine. Now we have to look at the products we're eating. That goes back to the law, because one thing about the law when it comes to clean and unclean food, it has us at the least examining what we're putting in our temples. Right? And then on top of that, GMOs and all that. And if they're doing this and spraying your corn and crops with this, brothers and sisters, best believe they're putting it in the vaccines, so that they can now push that campaign, I was born this way. Now, I'm only dealing with it from the sexuality side of things right now. Right? That's on one level of feminization. Being chemically induced, being raised by women, has caused the curse of the over-emotional man. But let's deal with it on another level now. I had to examine while growing up why most of the sisters, right, growing up would choose quote unquote thugs and drug dealers and gangbangers opposed to guys who were intellectual, who just went to school and tried to get good grades and just wanted to do the right thing. I had to examine that. And at one time, men would grow up and say, well, sisters, you're choosing all the wrong men. And then it became a blame game. But you know what? I'm like, that's an excuse there. There's something that's going on in these gangbangers. Something that's going on with these men who are, make no doubt about it, a cancer within our society. But there's something masculine that's in these men that women would prefer. And I thought about it. A woman wants a man who can protect her. Right? Think about it. Think about it. So in her spirit, she's willing to acquiesce to what we would call a lower degree man, but he's the only example of masculinity we have within our communities. He's the only person that most people are afraid of. When at one time, the whole world feared the men of God. And women didn't think twice about submitting because they had to. They wanted to. I had to stop looking at it from the way we would like to look at it. Well, you made your bed sleeping with this, that, and the other. But we're not seeing the whole thing here. The majority of men that are in books, studying, going to school, you understand? A lot of them have been, you know, to some degree, emotionally marginalized. See? And I'm just putting it lightly. I'm just putting it lightly. I'm just putting things out there. Now, we didn't dealt with the feminized thing with the woman raising the child, where the straight men are not chosen within our society because women in the ghetto and where we're being raised are being raped, over-sexualized. Predators are on them. They grow up with people trying to do things to them. So they grow in a nature needing protection. And the only people that anyone are afraid of in our neighborhoods are who? The gangbangers and drug dealers. Immediate protection. So we need to talk about this in the open. All this ugly, shameful stuff that happens amongst us. Not to point anyone out or to shame anyone, but to come to a resolution. Why? Because time is running out. We have to understand what's in our community and face it. Deal with it. You know what? And hey, we have to deal with it. Then on the other hand, do me a favor, everyone that's in here who understand what we're saying here, who's in here, because we're going to come to some resolution to that. Okay, if you want others to hear what's going on tonight, I need you all to hit the like button everywhere. We want everyone to come on in here and see what's going on with this curse of the over-emotional man. Right? And then we have another dynamic in that we see, that we examine. A man who have that strength, that power of masculinity, who's looking to do the right thing, right? Who's headstrong with discipline, right? Who now has the choice to choose a woman who can be his helpmeet to grow a strong family. We have that man. But then, in order for him to get someone at his level to be a, what you would call in this day, a power couple, he have to understand that he's dealing with a strong black woman who have been conditioned to think like a man. How long do you think that's going to last? So automatically, he's going to have to tone down something within him just to coexist. Let me tell you, there's so many dynamics within our communities, isn't it? Aren't there? So many dynamics. And I sat and thought about it. I'm like, you know what? How can a man of God be nurtured and raised out of such chaos? If it was my job to stop the man of God from becoming who the Most High made him, knowing the victory at the end of it, I would set a system exactly how I see today in our communities. But the question is, are we tired of it? Are we tired of it? Let me read this real quick. Right? Let me read this. This is Paul, because one of the greatest struggles when you read in Corinthians, the 7th chapter, the greatest counsel or advice was the marriage counsels, brothers and sisters. The battle that's been culminated in this earth between man and woman, and how even though we love each other, the society has made it in which we cannot coexist. It's a fight to coexist with someone we supposed to love. Paul wrote this. 1 Corinthians 7:27. Now check out how it's phrased. Art thou bound with a wife? Art thou bound with a wife? Now that doesn't sound positive, does it? But why is he saying, art thou bound with a wife? There's nothing negative about that, but it sounds negative. What Paul is saying is, listen, you being a brother, a man of the Most High, your requirements and duties and responsibility that you must have to the Most High is a given. You must bring your daily sacrifice and requirements as a man, regardless of your status. So having a wife is a luxury. But Paul breaks it down. Understand that you're bound. Certain things that you'll naturally be able to do without having to ask questions or check in and all that, those days are over. Because it's no longer you. So that's the bound. Because you are still required to bring forth your responsibility as a man and bring forth this kingdom for the Most High, regardless of your status. He gave you that talent. You must turn that talent into more, regardless of your choice. To be bound or free. Now listen. Art thou bound unto a wife? Seek not to be loosed. Don't seek to be free. And I know a lot of these brothers, they're online, they're going through their phones on Facebook, Snapchat, and all that, and think the grass is greener on the other side. But what I see out there, when I see women just readily available, just giving their bodies publicly to everyone, okay, what you're looking at is nothing less than prostitution. Do you really want that? Listen to this. Art thou loosed from a wife? That means, are you single? Seek not a wife. If you're single, don't think something is missing. If you're single, don't seek a wife. Seek your duties and find yourself as a man of the Most High. Find your purpose first, without muddying the waters and confusing things with the gray area and having to deal with someone else's emotional trauma, a person you don't have the wisdom to deal with yet. If you're loose, the Most High is giving you the wisdom to find yourself. He's giving you that time and space you didn't have growing up. in this dysfunction. He's trying to shape and nurture you out of iniquity. Anyone, you can find a woman or a man, they come a dime a dozen. They're a scroll away. They are an instant message away or a text away. You can find all these people. But why try to find anyone when you haven't found yourself yet? You don't know who you are yet, your purpose yet. And it always ends bad. It never ends like you thought it would. You thought it was just going to be one good night or this, that, and the other. It always ends with you having to start over and over again after losing 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. When you could have took that time that with no one in your space to find your purpose with the Most High. And then what the Most High will see is a man after his own heart. And he said, you know what? That man has a lot of work on his shoulder. I'll send him a helpmeet. You don't have to look for a woman. The Most High will send her. And that'll be the woman that there's no conflict, abrasiveness. You're still going to have to deal with certain things because that's what comes with having a relationship. But all in all, let the Most High send that woman. Listen to what he says in 1 Corinthians 7:28. But if thou marry, thou hast not sinned. And if a virgin marry, a young woman marry, she have not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh. You can choose a relationship you want, but be ready to deal with all the trouble that comes with it. Because once the flesh is over and that thing becomes old, now you're dealing with the issues that came with that relationship, unbeknownst. Now you can't be in it and say, well, I didn't realize it was going to be all this. Well, guess what? Why didn't you check what it would have been first? Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh, but I spare you, is what Paul said. These little tidbits of wisdom right here could change all of our communities overnight. But first, and another thing a man don't want to admit, and we're going to say, we're talking about men right now. Can we speak? Men don't like to admit when they're being over emotional. Okay. Men always want to portray themselves as stern and I'm hard and all that, but it's clearly seen. I'm speaking of men right now. It's nothing to understand or know after seeing someone act out a certain type of way, especially these young men out here. You can know right off the bat whether or not a young man was raised with his father or not. Right off the bat. Now, I'm not saying that there's not a fix for these young over-emotional men. There is. They need time outside of the flesh to find themselves and be nurtured by the Most High and grown by the Most High. And study the wisdom, the Proverbs, the Ecclesiastes, all these wisdom scriptures. If you apply this education from the wisdom, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Psalms, Ecclesiasticus, the wisdom of Solomon, it will make you a man of intelligence within a few months. The wisdom scriptures are the shortcut. They will give you all the information you didn't get in a fatherless home. And that's why it tells us in Isaiah 61 that Christ came for the fatherless. The wisdom is in Scripture to grow you up quick, to give you the wisdom to stand on your own and say, you know what? Now I can separate, okay, the masculine that I have naturally and how I make decisions from my mother's influence and when I make decisions. Now I can tell the difference. Oh, I got this from my mother. I need to fix that. A strong black woman cannot raise a strong black man by herself. Okay? Straight out. And anyone that's pushing a strong woman without a man is nonsense. Okay? These young men can get the wisdom to correct and examine themselves and say, you know what? This nature, me talking out of turn, me not letting other people speak, me be ready to go into a confrontation over anything is not masculine. Okay? That's not a man. But when you reason with the wisdom of Scripture, it will do what? It will correct that child that grew up without a father. You have to teach yourself now. You have to go into the wisdom that the Most High has bestowed on you and understand according to Him what's a man. You'll never learn what a man is in this feminized society. The topic today, the curse of the over-emotional man. Now, here it is, men grow up. We grow up. Our mother drags us into the church. We go into the church looking for masculinity, or what you would call a mentor to guide us if there isn't a man around. I thank the Most High that the Most High, the Most High blessed me to have a father until I was of age. And my father told me years ago, growing up, he seen me growing up, singing in the choir, the whole nine. And he said, son, I'm going to keep an extra eye on you going to that church. He says, I know you like to sing and that's your talent. I'm a singer too. He says, but you know what's going on up in there. And he was telling me this at 8 and 9 years old. He said, son, look in your churches. Look in that church. Who's jumping up and dancing and all that when you singing, son? And I was like, these are grown people. What's wrong with you, Dad? He was like, listen, there's nothing but women in there. Okay, that something is wrong in there. There's nothing but women, son. And the pastor has his choice of a woman in there. And then he says, I need you to take a real good look at pastor's son. And it so happened the pastor's son was gay. He says, so I'm going to tell you right now, there's nothing that pastor can teach you about being a man of God if he couldn't teach his son. That's what my father told me. He said, I'm allowing you to be there because you like to sing. But I'm going to tell you right now, you better not come up in my house soft. And the only reason he went to church with me is to watch me. To watch me sing and to make sure none of these people abuse me. When he did come. And I thank the Most High for it. Because the guy that I grew up with living 2 doors down, his name was Red Man. He's the one invited me to the church. And guess what? He ended up getting turned out by the pastor's son. And years later, guess what, folks? They claimed he died of AIDS during that whole AIDS thing. 2 doors down from where I lived. No one liked to talk about what's going on in the community about how our men are being, our young boys are being abused and all that. Okay? And being feminized and all that. But I like to see these things as an example and understand that even the things I haven't learned growing up in a cursed society, because that's what it is according to the Bible. They call it dysfunction. The Bible calls it a curse of the children of God. Growing up in there and then getting the understanding with the Bible to be able to resolve the curses has been nothing more than a blessing, folks. And I believe that the Most High, the same way he had, let me tell you, the Most High has called us out of our condition to help fix it. Not to look down on our people as less than us. We're in this together. To say, you know what? I would never understand how to teach certain things if I didn't go through it, if I didn't see it with my own eyes. And the men, here's the truth. We have been broken as men. The system has broken us. And on top of that, they've used the only strength that can help us to break us. Our other half. And no man out there would admit it. Won't even talk about it. Okay? They won't talk about it. They act as if everything, it's normal. What's going on? These little boys growing up now with the makeup on and all that. Guess what, folks? That's our next generation. That's us. That's us, folks. The curse of the over-emotional man. It's obvious that the world government body would like a large population of men feminized. Why are we allowing this? Better yet, what are our contributing factors to this? What are we doing allowing this, knowing the government want feminized men? And above all, how can we fix it? Lawyer, come on in, brother.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Can you hear me nice and clearly?
Nice and clear. We got an hour. Let's tackle this.
All right. All right. Man. Where do I start? I think for the past hour, I was just sitting and just listening to some of the things you brought out. A lot of key points and a lot of key information. And it's been stirring up, I think, for the past hour, quite a few scriptures. So I'm going to try to hit these as quick as possible and make my points. And I'm going to start off here in the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 7, verse number 57.
Yeah.
And 2nd Ezra 7 and 57, it tells us, and this is in relation to the question that was asked earlier. I think there was a question asked as far as why does the government want effeminate men?
Yeah.
When you go to the book of 2nd Ezra, and of course we know that the government of this earth is controlled by a spiritual being, a spiritual power, who has been watching us and has been seeking to eliminate and control us since the time of his fall. He had war against Adam. Of course, he couldn't exterminate Adam, so he sought to make war with Adam's seed. And eventually he sought to make war with the Messiah. And we know the Messiah overcame him. But going to the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 7, verse 57, it says, "This is the condition of the battle, which man that is born upon the earth shall fight." So the first thing we must understand is that every single man and woman who has been born into this earth has been born into a war, a battle. And the reality is that the majority of people who have been born into this earth don't realize that they're actually in a battle. They don't realize they're in a war. And because of that, they don't realize that they have natural born enemies. And those natural born enemies start as I mentioned earlier, in the spiritual realm. So if we're in a war, naturally, the enemy would try to what? Eliminate us, destroy us, kill us off. The example we have is in the book of Exodus, the 1st chapter, where it tells us in verse number 7, and the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty, and the land was filled with them. So, of course, during our time in Egypt, we began to multiply and become a nation. We went into Egypt with 70 souls, and we left out a great multitude. So it says here in verse 8, now there rose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto the people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. So naturally, if the enemy is looking at a population of people growing and outnumbering their population, they're looking at the threat of a defeat in warfare. If a war falls out, naturally, the larger, stronger population can have the wherewithal to eventually overtake the ruling government or the ruling power. So that's an example of why the enemy would seek to kill and destroy our population. Now, the reality, the problem with that is the fact that regardless of what they try to do throughout the generations, including in Egypt, we know that in Egypt, they tried it. They tried eugenics, they tried abortion, so on and so forth, but it didn't work. So now they have to find other ways to deal wisely with us. If these people are going to be born into the earth anyway, if the men are going to be born into the earth anyway, we have to find a different means of weakening their population so that they don't become a threat to us in warfare.
Exactly.
I'm going to turn over to the book of Revelation, the 12th chapter. This will be the last scripture I touch on before moving on to the next point. Revelation chapter 12, I'm going to start in verse number 1.
All right.
All right. In fact, I'm going to get straight to the point. Revelation chapter 12. In fact, Revelation 12 and 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. Verse 4 says, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. So the same plan that was in place to try to destroy Moses before he was born, and we know that Moses was a mighty man and the example of what a man should be, the same plan was in place to try to destroy and eliminate the Messiah, who is the man of all men who have ever walked the face of the earth. So he tried to destroy these great, powerful, masculine men before they were born. But we know that didn't take place. He was unsuccessful. Verse number 5 says, and she brought forth a man who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. So they knew that this was the destiny of the Messiah, that great man that was born into the earth. And that destiny was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Now, of course, it's promised in the Bible that along with the Messiah's rulership, that 144,000 would rule under him. And it just so happens that the leaders of those 144,000 are all men. So Satan would have a plan in place in order to try to destroy these men before they were born, the same thing he tried to do with Christ. But as I mentioned earlier, these men are still being born into the earth. Their abortions, though they're killing millions and millions of Black and Latino children year after year, it's still not working. We're still being born. So in order to try to eliminate that desire to rule, that desire to have rulership in the earth, that desire to be a leader, they now have found a new way to kill these men even after they're born. and that's through feminization. Once you feminize these men, they no longer have the desire to step into their power of rulership. They no longer have the desire to follow the order or follow the example that Christ or Moses left us. Just a few more scriptures here. It says in verse number 6, it says, and the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared. It's getting down to the point, verse number 9. And the great red dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out unto the earth. He and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying, now has come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. So this is the example of those men who followed the Messiah, who clave unto his blood, who loved not their lives unto the death. Men like the apostles and the disciples. Verse number 12 says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And I think this relates to what you brought out earlier on that that article concerning the wizards of this earth and the sorcerers and the witches creating a drug called atrazine, which actually causes men to become women, or causes the effeminization of men. I don't think there's any coincidence that the Bible says that the society we would be living in this time would spiritually be called Sodom and Egypt. Sodom for the homosexuality. In Egypt, one thing it was known for is witches and sorcerers who would try to combat the Most High's power and try to pervert the Most High's creation. So it says here in verse number 13, last verse, it says, and the dragon, when the dragon saw that he was cast out into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. So with that, I conclude.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. And you know what? I'm going to bring you back in a moment. Thank you, Elder Lawya. Great points. What we're going into, brothers and sisters, this evening, and I'm going to open up the calls for the last hour in a moment, the curse of the over-emotional man. Okay? I think one of the greatest problems, our society won't allow young men to be raised as men of God. It's a threat to society, like Elder Lawya has poignantly pointed out. And it also, believe it or not, what Lawya just did and how we're resolving this today is showing us the importance of God's law and the power of this Bible. Why do you think the Bible is public enemy number one when it comes to literature? It's the only resolve that can have us understand the world we live in and how to resolve the curse that's been placed upon God's people. Why do you think churches are all rallying together in meetings against Israelites? And why do you think now they put in Israelites on the public, stage right now through media to try to demonize Israelites? And if they're going to promote an Israelite, they're going to promote an Israelite that they can use for the face of terrorism. Why do you think so? The truth is here, folks, but we're running out of time. And the Most High have an elite group of men that are chosen in this earth, that who will stand against all adversity. And they're trying to stop us from getting to those men. The Bible tells us in the book of Isaiah 13 and 11. Read Isaiah 13 and 11 for me, Josh.
The book of Isaiah chapter 13 verse 11.
Read it.
And I will punish the world for their evil.
The Most High soon will punish the world for their evil. Turning our young men out. Turning them into girls. Feminizing us. Read.
And the wicked for their iniquity.
And the wicked for their sins. The evil, the wicked ones will not go unpunished, folks. They're just looking to take down as many as they can of us with them. Read.
And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease.
The arrogancy of the proud to cease. Because a lot of us are proud. Like they say, gay pride, and they're proud to be this and proud to be that. The Most High will soon bring down your pride. Read.
And will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible.
Come on.
I will make a man.
He will make a what?
I will make a man.
He will make a man, read.
More precious than fine gold.
More precious than fine gold. What is that saying there, folks? A real man, according to God. And one thing about gold, it's what? Rare. That we're seeing that prophecy fulfilled before our eyes. That certain men will shine in this time. And they'll be rare in this time. That's what it means. We can't find a good man. The prophecies are being fulfilled with that. Because the majority of men are being turned to women. It says in that day what?
I will make a man more precious than fine gold.
A man more precious than fine gold. It's speaking of a real man, a man of God, a temperate man, a man of law, a man of morality, and also a man of love. It's speaking of a lawful man according to God. And they would like, let me tell you right now, the world powers would like us to believe that that spirit, that man is unattainable. That you cannot become that man because of your past. It's a lie. It's a lie. We are a product of curses. And that's why the Lord said, wash you, make you clean, put away thy doing. That's why he put a technicality in place to cleanse us of our sins so that we don't have to have the emotional baggage that came with the old man. That boy that wasn't raised by his father. You notice, you hear people talk, young men talk now. They all talk like abused women. You understand? The Lord gave us water to wash away that young man. Now you must stand in boldness for this war. And stop looking back at the past. That's what the water was for. The water was so that you didn't have to look back, you know, and look at all your insecurities and the things you did wrong, so that you can formulate in your mind that you're not formidable, that you're not, you know, that you're not able to become what this man is. That now you're not walking as a man with insecurities. That's a woman. The Most High put a natural insecurity in a woman. Why? So that she can desire the strength and depend on the strength of the man. That was the whole point. But men are not supposed to be walking around like that. Read it.
Verse 12 from the top. I will make a man more precious than fine gold.
Exactly. Read.
Even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir.
Golden, the gold of Ophir, which is the rare gold. Okay. And the Bible tells us also, and I'm going to go into that next week, when it says 7 women shall take hold to one man. Okay. Now, I know a lot of men are looking at this in their lustful, fleshly mind and saying, oh, I can have all the women. I'm going to have a harem. You're carnal. It's not talking about that. Because there's a scarcity of men, many women, even single women, will be cleaving to these men who will guide them in righteousness. Why? Because there's a lack of men in the earth altogether. And she's trying to be covered by that man's righteousness. Like Moses' house was covered when he put that blood on the doorpost. Moses wasn't married to every woman up in his house, but they were protected under him. Okay? Let me read this real quick. Before I read this, let me make some announcements real quick. Make sure you all hit that like button, okay, so that we can get a few more in before we conclude this broadcast, which will be done in about a little over an hour. The curse of the over-emotional man. Right? I wanted to put it out there. I'd like to thank the brothers and sisters who came last week to our grand opening for the church. It was a blessing. We still have a lot of work to do. So if you would like to send donations to help us finish building, because we do have some cosmetics things to finish, you can send your check or money order to the P.O. Box 946 Hamilton Street, Philadelphia, PA 19130. Okay. If you would like to help, because there's still some work, cosmetic work we would like to do on the church. But I would like to thank all the brothers, the elders, and the wives who came throughout the four corners of the earth to sit with us and discuss a resolve in organizing these churches going forward. I'd like to thank you for your participation. None of us can do this alone, and I can't do nothing without your help. I'm speaking to you elders and you brothers and you sisters and the wives that all came, and I thank you for your attendance through this cold weather. Okay, to begin what I believe is a serious work to help our people in this time of trouble in organizing and centralizing the church. Okay, I would also like to put out there that I got a few more announcements at the end. I also wanted to put out there that we still have seats for the academy. If you'd like to be a part of the Hebrew and Bible Academy, we have brand new lessons we're going into this coming week. And if you are fairly new, we'll make sure you get the past lessons missed for the last month to catch you up. If you'd like to be a part of the Hebrew and Bible Academy, send an email to gathering@AOL.com. Okay, or go to historytimes.org. You can enroll there, or you can go to gatheringofchristchurch.org and enroll there. Okay, so I'd like to thank you. I wanted to put those announcements out there, and I have a few more at the end, but I don't want to break the monotony, but I at least have to make the announcements once per broadcast. Do me a favor, can you go upstairs, look inside the office right there and see if you see a calendar? Okay, cool. All right. Now getting back on point. The curse of the over-emotional man, right? There's a few things I would like to pull out, but before I do that, we're tackling this. Okay, and Lawya hit a lot of these points, but I'm open to hear your opinions. I'm going to open up the broadcast for the next 15 minutes through the call-in number 515-605-9327. Okay. Not 515-605-9327. Excuse me. Okay. Now, like I've mentioned, it's obvious that the world government body wants a large population of our men feminized. I'm not buying it. Okay. I don't care what anyone say. A gay man or a gay male is not a man according to God. We'll never accept it. And a matter of fact, we will fight against it within every inch of our being. That's not a man. Okay? The only male that's going on with homosexual so-called men, the only male is their what? Reproduction organ. That's the only part of them that's male. That's that androgynous spirit. A feminine walking around like an hermaphrodite. That's not a man. And it's time that we stand as man of the Most High and call men, men. And don't be shamed and bullied into identifying what a man is. Okay? Because our children need to know that example from us. They need to understand what that is from us. Second question. Why are we allowing, better yet, what are we doing to contribute to this? Allowing this behavior to run rampant throughout our communities. I see a lot of our sisters feeling sorry that their son is this way and that way. I need someone to pray for my son, and he's like this and he's like that. Don't you know that you're compromising your spirit by you acquiescing and going into, well, I still love this person and all that? You have to overcome your emotions, even you as women, to correct these men and let them know how they're dishonoring you as a parent with their perversions. It's upon you to do that. Why? At the end of the day, if you excuse this or allow it, you as a parent becomes an accomplice to your child's evil. You become an accomplice to it. What, you going to coddle the spirit all the way into hell? Next, how can we fix it? Let me read this real quick. First of all, we can fix it first by understanding what's accepted and what's not accepted by God. We need to set our standards on the side of God first, who made us all, man and woman. That's the first beginning, not how we feel about anything. Okay? What is our purpose according to God? Let me read this real quick. 1 Corinthians, I'm going to read this myself. 1 Corinthians 6 and 9, thank you. Listen to this. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? We have all these people going to church talking about the kingdom of God. I can't wait till I get there, and when Jesus comes and all this stuff they're speaking. Right? I'm going to show you an example of the churches that are being promoted financially by the government right now in Harlem. I'm going to pull that up in a moment. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived. Don't deceive yourself. The Most High God is not going to change the requirements for his kingdom based on how we feel, how you feel about your son or daughter, or vice versa. The Most High is not going to change a narrative based on your feelings. See, that feeling or shame thing works in this little satanic perverted bubble. Listen to this. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God? Be not deceived. Don't fool yourself, regardless of what your androgynous government is telling you. Neither fornicators, idolaters, adulterers, nor effeminate. The Most High have nothing to do with the man who wants to be a woman. What's on my screen right here? This is a dude, folks. This is the total accomplishment of the curse of the emotional man. This is a dude. He called himself Sydney Star. This is what they want, folks. They're willing to take the little steps to get there. But at the end of this, the emotional man becomes that on the screen. You sisters should be infuriated that you've made yourself so to the point where a dude can imitate it. And I'm going to talk about that next week. It was one time a man couldn't think about couldn't think about actually imitating a woman. He's doing it because you're letting him do it. And I'm going to go into that next week. Sisters, we're going to talk about the curse of the masculine woman next week. The curse of the masculine woman is coming next week. Okay? That's next week. Women have made it through cosmetics. They've set a precedent through cosmetics where now dudes can disguise themselves as women. And men have been so feminized, they would rather call. Oh, let me get it. I'm going to pull it up in a second. Y'all hear the church in the back. I'm going to pull it up in a moment. Men have been so feminized, folks. They've been so feminized that now Sydney Star is an actual option in this wicked and perverse system. And it works for the androgynous Baphomet satanic powers. Why? Because that's what they were doing before the flood. The best way, the sure way of depopulating the people is to turn their sex one with the other. A woman with woman and a man with man is a natural birth control. Okay? For what? Depopulation. Because exactly, it's up there with abortion. They got to push abortion as well as what? Effeminate and homosexuality for depopulation. Because it works for the Satanist on two levels. One level, you can no longer bring forth an offspring. The second level is the judgment of God. Be not deceived, neither fornicators, idolaters, adulterers, nor effeminate, abusers of themselves with mankind, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of God. Mm-hmm. That sounds like all I've been raised around. What about you? We're not going to talk about it no more. We need to start doing something about this, folks. It's time for real men to take a stand and not be bullied into a corner. Because why? The enemy is working day and night, 24/7, in an effort to destroy us all. I need you to think about this, folks. Think about it. Now, I want to show you why I believe the first step that need to be taken, if it be the Most High's will, to shut down every pagan church within proximity, within our neighborhoods. Every last one. That should be the first step. That's why Christ went into the temple and beat those sinners out of the temple. Okay? Making mockery of the Most High's temple. Just trying to aggrandize themselves financially without bringing the proper help and care and truth and law that the Torah or the Bible upholds. It's a hot mess up in there. And I just rolled through there today, and there's a church almost on every other corner. That's the first thing that needs to happen. Okay, the first thing we need to shut that thing down, because they are excusing and harboring. Matter of fact, the churches are cultivating the evil we're talking about. And have created a spiritual shelter for these demons who are destroying our communities. Well, the law is done away with. We're under grace.
Let's repent quickly then.
Let me bring out what the churches has always been, and what the powers that be was working to make our churches from the beginning. Look at this. Check this out, folks.
A ministry, it's a church that is a radically inclusive spiritual family. It is predominantly African American, LGBTQIS. Religion has been used as a whipping board against the LGBT community. And it's been very, very difficult for people to reconcile their spirituality with their sexuality. And I believe that having this particular ministry gives people the opportunity to do that.
That's a trainer y'all looking at right there.
With people knowing that we are LGBT, that poses a problem with sharing space. We've been in shared spaces since I started the church 8 years ago. It's about finding a building that's financially feasible, and sometimes, you know, you can find a space, but they don't want to sell to you because you're LGBT.
What kingdom do they think they're going into? What kingdom? For you on Blog Talk, we're looking at a bunch of trannies and perverts behind gospel music.
So in the past 3 years,
being led by an unrepentant woman with a kid in play box cut, trying to be a dude.
4 times.
We are an older African-American church. I would say I have many 80 and 90-year-olds and many uncomfortable with the LGBT.
They were territorial and they felt like we were invading their space. And so whenever they felt that, we got pushback.
People get territorial.
So I thought it was just about them being bullied, folks. I thought they was going to stop when they receive equal rights in marriage.
Even territorial about their pew. If you should sit in their pew, that's where they've sat for the last 15 or 20 years. So I wouldn't say that's an LGBT, people being upset with folks being LGBT, but that's just people being people.
I have gone through some tragedies in my life, and my church has seen me through. I'm so grateful.
Now, she is what's wrong with our community. We're going to go into her next week.
Church, because of my church, I'm not at home watching pastors on TV and living an isolated life.
You know what? I'm so glad one cannot cry themselves into the kingdom of heaven. I'm so glad that the Most High is not seeing your crocodile tears and let you cry your way in and beg your way into his kingdom.
Like God doesn't love me because of what other people believe and thought.
I know that God loves.
God does not love this woman, okay?
The beloved community of the LGBT people. I know that. And not only does God love us, God affirms us.
I'm busy because I'm excited. I don't know about you.
That's enough of this hot, smelly mess. Okay? But guess what? This is what the Christian church ushered in for us, folks. This is what the Christian church has always been in secret. Folks, first of all, we have to make it where no young man or young woman growing up can no longer go into any church that claims God's law is done away with. Mm-hmm. We have the power to at least do that. Because the freaks are running all the churches, folks. Stirring me up right here. We got about, I'm going to do about 15 minutes overtime now. Y'all hit that like button so we get some more people up in here. Stir me up with these non-repentant days of Noah, hermaphrodites and freaks are running the church. And then everyone in there talking, everyone, no one is looking to repent. Saying that no, you can't judge me. A house full of unrepentant sinners singing the praises of God and wonder why so many people are walking away from God now to become an atheist. Examining this hypocrisy. And the children can't wait to grow up so they can no longer be forced to go there. Seeing the hypocrisy and evil up in there. Lord, have mercy. Let me go in. I'm gonna let you pull it out in a second, but let's take some calls. The curse of the over-emotional man, and next week we're going into the curse of the masculine woman. And on top of that, myself and Gaja will be working on a daily morning radio show that's going to be coming soon. So if people on their way to work or whatever, they can be inspired with the truth early in the morning on their way to work or whatever. They have their tablets up, have their phones up, and they can tune into our morning show. We're about to have a morning show that's going to speak to what's really going on in this earth before the kingdom comes. Let's go. The curse of the over-emotional man. We have someone from the 323 area code. Please be efficient with time, understanding that, you know, we're on a time restriction with the show now, okay? A matter of fact, we only got about 45. We only got about what? We only got about 15 minutes before this show's done, but I'm going to try to go an extra 15 minutes. 30 minutes before this show's concluded, okay? But hopefully we get some constructive answers today that with some of the scriptures Elder Lawya brought forth, we understand, and now we can apply those scriptures and understand the agenda against us. And on top of that, begin to make as men constructive change for the embedment of our nation within our communities. The whole deal is this, especially brothers that's running around with just girlfriends or whatever. Listen, just cut everything off until you get yourself together as a man. And don't let no woman in your space that's not willing to be a woman of the Most High. Period. That's how it starts. You got to draw a line. I'm talking about men who really want to be men of truth. Draw a line in the sand. They're like, listen, there are certain things I'm not going to compromise. It's enough society have taken all my power anyway. So I'm going to exalt as much power or try to consolidate and utilize as much power I'm able to. And one thing I have power over is my vessel in my temple and who I share it with. Okay? If you're worldly, if you're not about anything, nah. About time the Most High is finished with you, you'll be begging to be in the presence of someone who's looking to do right. About time the world is finished with you. And we're going to go into that next week. Let's go. We have Brother Enoch from California. And then we have Brother Leslie from Florida next. Come on in. Talk to me. And then I'm going to bring... Elder. Shalom, talk to me. The curse of the over-emotional man.
Los Angeles, South Central.
Talk to me.
To be exact, and I could say I'm surrounded by emotional men on a daily basis.
Come on.
I say that because I understand that they are neighborhoods and they do gangbang. I understand why they gangbang. Most of it is for a sense of camaraderie. no family, no father figure in the house to teach them wrong and right. And sometimes there is, and they still gravitated towards that negative level. To me, you said that the gangbangers are a sense of protection to these ladies, but knowing them growing up, they weren't the toughest guys. And I feel that they joined those gangs because they weren't the toughest guys, and they had to be amongst other people to feel a sense of belonging and toughness at the same time. I understand that we need our brothers that are gangbanging to join us in our search for truth and to be righteous on an everyday basis. I'm asking you because I know them and I'm surrounded by them. How do I approach these brothers without thumping the Bible, but asking them to use their minds and at least be a little righteous? Because none of these guys actually enjoy what they do, but they're so emotional, they just go with it. You can't ask them why they want to kill the other guy from the other side of the neighborhood. They don't know why, especially the younger generation. It's just kill, take, rape. I don't understand this. Even my own father was a gang member. So I went to the army myself, so I didn't do much better, but luckily I came back with a strong mind and a stronger body, willing to engulf myself into the truth, everything that's a part of me. They said it was Brother Enoch, but I call myself Baby Enoch between my family and friends. That's what I strive to be like. I was a good guy. And I think that's a good dude to be like, if you ask me.
You know what, brother? It's deep that you're bringing out the inward workings of what you would call the gang element in this, and how they are systematically in place to oppose our society. And guess what? A lot of them are a product of a lot of what we talked about today. Single mothers, men not being around, men not trying to be men not following the Bible, brothers becoming rebels and joining gangs to get the love they didn't, they couldn't receive in their own homes. That becomes their family. Why? Because this is the product of the brokenness, what we're talking about. So where these over emotional men will go anywhere to seek some level of love and attention. And really, they're broken men. A fraternity of broken men. They're strong. They're killers. They become desensitized. But all in all, something is missing. But I thank the Most High that a lot of these men that used to do that, believe it or not, a lot of them have joined our church, are part of our church, no longer is a part of that because some of what they were seeking, the church can facilitate that now. Now they can use some of what has happened to them in the past and become mentors for those who don't know any better that are joining gangs right now. But yes, gangs are also a product of the over-emotional man. Young men that didn't get the proper attention and were trained to be enemies within their own communities. Okay, but I just wanted to get.
I mean, that's just our Judah boys, but Issachar is around also, and they're not too friendly towards us.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate that. Even in the barbershop, you can have men. I want to talk about things. They want to talk about Kobe and Shaq. I hate that, and I'll show my displeasure. Like, let's talk about something real. We have Issachar and different tribes coming to the walls and borders, and we're fighting against them. What do y'all feel about that as black men? Keep them out. They're taking our jobs. Do this. They want to gangbang on this corner. They want to sell these drugs. I'm like, but do you understand? If you take in the media's view of them, do you understand who they are individually and what they're running from? It's not too much better than when it's actually worse from over there than it is here, and they're trying to get here, which isn't a good situation.
Well,
so,
hey, brother,
even our own black brothers, the Judah brothers have to.
Hey, brother, well, I got to go to the next.
Judah brothers need to reach out to our Issachar brothers.
I got you.
That would just be a good example to set towards our Judah brothers.
I got you, brother. Let me go to the next call real quick, and I'm gonna make a point on you, Enoch. Great points, because I get to the next call. One thing I want to say is that's good that you want to bring the conversation to a more constructive, building conversation. But I know you've probably done it before, and I'm going to say this: if you're in a barbershop or amongst your brothers and sisters, Sometimes you have to condescend to the lowest level. Sometimes you have to talk to them on the level they're talking on. You don't have to curse and use their profanity, but you can ask, they want to talk about the game? Talk about the game, but steer that game into a certain perspective, or that person they're speaking of into a certain perspective. But if you come in, okay, and you come in and try to be what they would call a downer by speaking something as if you're judging them and not speaking with them, they'll tune you out. So sometimes I'll hear what they have to say and wait for opportunity, or speak about the game and all that, and that's planting the seed for another conversation later. But anyway, let's go to Brother Leslie in Florida. The curse of the over-emotional man. Let's hear it. Shalom.
Shalom, Elder. How are you?
I'm pretty good. We have limited minutes. Shoot, go for it. How do we fix? Right. How do we fix? Listen. How do we fix this? That's why I want to go straight to it. How do we fix this?
I think the only way we can fix this is by first relying on the Most High. That's first and foremost. Getting into His Word as men. I would even suggest as G.O.C.C. that we start gathering the men together from all the different regions and having men's conference that we can impart into each other in helping to build men of G.O.C.C. Because there are a lot of men coming into G.O.C.C., as you stated, Elder, who really don't know what it is to be a man, who have not come from that family institution where there is a father and a mother in the home. And just to give you a refresher who I am, my wife is Sister Lisa. I was in law enforcement for many years, so I understand clearly the suggestion that you were giving that brother about dealing with gangbangers. And the gangbangers of yesteryear is totally different from the gangbangers of today.
Exactly.
And even when you're looking at society now, I was just even showing it to my wife on TV. There was this Old Spice commercial that just came out, just came on TV, and it literally was demasculizing the men on that commercial. And I heard about it. Seen it, but I
heard about it. I heard about it.
I would you to go and look at it. Yeah, it was. It really took. It really opened my eyes.
Yes.
To how serious it is that society wants to demasculate not just the men, but our black men.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, brother. I'm going to place you on hold. I'm going to tell you, I don't even want to see it. Okay, we've been bombarded with it enough. And the whole thing is, what I would say is, every brother, brothers don't deal with Gillette anyway, but I'm going to say every man living on earth need to going forward boycott, or at least not buy anything from Gillette going forward. Okay, the whole thing is, there's
one other thing.
No, go ahead, go for it. Go ahead. It's your time. Go on.
No, I'm sorry. You're right. I was just gonna before we cut off, just wanted to, if you can touch on when the body will be coming to Orlando. That's all. Continue, sir.
Brother, I will be in Florida, and I'm going to try to get there next month, no later than the 1st of March. But I'm coming. We're setting up the churches there. All right, and I'll be there soon. Don't worry about it. I'm coming. All right.
Looking forward to seeing you, sir.
All right. Bless you. And I'm glad the brother brought that out, because what he's saying we must do as a nation, we've began that actually last weekend. All the men got together. We discussed certain things about the unity of the faith and the unity of building a strong leadership. And that will go on beyond our headquarters. Keep in mind, we're going to do retreats, family retreats. Okay, we're going to do singles retreats where sisters are with sisters, separate, talking and discussing things with married women, so they can get the understanding of how to be a married woman if they were to choose to be by successful married women and vice versa. We're going to do that. And it's not going to be men and women on some single retreat, because that's a hot mess. Okay? No. Have the women and the elder women deal with the sisters for a time separate from the men, and have the sisters who are learned help these younger girls like the Bible says do. And then the men sit down at a separate retreat at another time period and have a discussion. Okay? And the whole thing is a discussion. We're not going to be having no woman discussion. We're going to have what? We're going to have a planning discussion. We're going to have a discussion in which we can plan as men to protect our families going forward and not acquiesce to the government's peer pressure. We will be men of the Most High in spite of the conspiracies that have been formulated against us. We're going to discuss that. I hate when you sitting there discussing and a man comes off and he's begin to just speak, on some tangent of emotion. Those will be the discussions. We're like, listen, brother, we men up in here. We don't go off like women. Okay? Even if what you're saying is correct, you're going to learn how to articulate yourself like a man and harbor your feelings. Because when the push come to shove and they up on you, and our women and children will need protection, the last thing a woman want to see is a man over emotional outside of his bearings. Okay? Let's leave that for them. Okay? So men will have those discussions together. Okay? Of course, the Bible says, greet our brothers with a holy kiss. On the side, we do like this, okay? But guess what? Listen, the emotion you're going to get is constructive understanding of the Most High. That's the love we're going to be giving you first. Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of our times. Brother Malcolm, and after that, Brother Travis from the DMV. Let's go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, how do we fix this? Come on, Brother Malcolm. How do we fix it? You got 1 minute. You got 1 minute. Hit it.
We got to be patient with our brother and tell them that what they're doing now, make them feminine and stuff, right?
I got to put you on hold, brother. I said 1 minute. Get it together. I'm going to be right back with you. Brother Travis from the DMV, how do we fix the curse of the over-emotional man? I heard him say we have to be patient. I understand that. Let's go. We got limited time. I'm coming back at you, brother. Get it together so we formulate it now, because we have to. We on time constraints. Let's go, Brother Travis. How do we fix it?
Hey, Shalom. I don't know how we're gonna fix it, because I'm close to 40, right?
Yeah.
I've seen, back in the 90s, if in the black man, you can count them on your finger. There was not many, but now, I worked for almost 10 years in the federal prison system, right? And I used to wonder why all these DC men are so gay, right? Then when I moved to the DMVA, and I worked in probation, and I saw even more, and I started to put the pieces together, like in DC, right? There's mandatory vaccines. You can't get out of vaccines unless you go to a private school. Now I learned about the poison water. I'm like, hold on a minute. Okay, now who's going to the private school? The white people. Black people ain't got no private school money. So I said, oh, that's why it's the epidemic of so many black homosexuals with the altruism and all that. It's all making sense. And let me add one more thing. I spent a considerable amount of time in Colombia and Brazil, I never saw not one effeminate black man. Not one. So, yeah, it's definitely, how we going to fix it? Oh, man, we got to put our faith in the Most High, because they can't be awesome about these brothers, man. That's what it is. You know, and look forward to seeing the Passover. I want to see y'all do that split, Elder, in 2016.
Okay, thank you, Brother Travis. Let's go down the line. Sister Ambler, you're next. How do we fix it? The curse of the over-emotional man.
How do we fix?
Come on.
Yes, sir. We have to start with our next generation. It's something that, you know, this is what we're working on in our household right now. We have 3 children. We are steady trying to put this in their head. Hey, go back to the Most High. They're young, so, you know, we can't teach them, you know, a lot of things. But as they grow, I'm going to hammer it into their head. Hey, you're going to be in the ways of the Most High. It starts with our next generation, sir.
Thank you, sister. Thank you, sister. Let's go to the next call. Make sure we're influencing and teaching our children what's right. She's right on board with that, right? Have that right understanding. When it says train up a child the way that child shall go, and when that child is of age, they shall not depart from it. Okay? You have to teach our children. Let a boy be a boy. Okay? And to let no one tell you, well, your son is too hyperactive. He have ADHD and all this other garbage. Okay? If you were to actually, especially when it comes to a young man, if you pay attention to what he's interested in, you'll get his attention. Okay? So that ADHD, he's fidgety in class, he this, that, and the other. He don't have to be induced. That's what young boys do. Okay? You're boring him. Okay? He don't want to hear some of the nonsense you're teaching sometimes. Find out what the boy is interested in and put him in that class. Okay? That's another thing. No, people don't realize, and a lot of people are not paying attention to these young boys. They're not paying attention for a reason. There's no drug you could. How can parents and sisters allow a doctor or some psychiatrist or a teacher to tell you your child need to be on drugs? Your child need to be chemically induced because he's abnormal. What's wrong with you? That's another thing. We're listening to these sickos and getting our children on drugs, young men. And that's affecting them also. This Ritalin and all this other stuff. Let's go down the line. I got you in a second. I know you wanted to bring something.
It's good.
Yeah? Okay, we got Brother Corey from New York. Let's go.
Hey, Elder.
Come on, let's talk. We only got 1 minute.
Hello?
Talk to me. You got 1 minute. How do we fix the curse of the over-emotional man? Come on.
Well, I'm not sure how we fix it, but I know, like on the news, I know they just signed this one thing. I'm from New York, and they just signed this one thing. It's a law, so where if you're under the age of 18, and if you're swaying more towards the homosexual, then it's actually illegal to talk someone out of their behavior. So I know they just put that as the law. I know in New York, and I'm not sure about the rest of the country, but I'm sure to follow suit. So they obviously want us to stay in that behavior.
Okay. So now what you're saying is because they had a thing in which they had a thing in church in which they had this term, you can pray the gay away. So now it's against the law to actually say to a homosexual that it's actually an issue or a demon that they can overcome. They're making it illegal in which you cannot help a homosexual repent from their perversions. Okay, or their or their what you would call inordinate affection.
Correct. And like, you know, if it's a psychiatrist or someone in that profession, right, then it would be illegal to even get them out of that behavior. And they say before 18, and you're already, if it's before 18, then they're already going to be stuck after that age.
Well, thank you, brother. That's some great points. And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. But guess what? What he said, I'm going to put you on hold, Corey, is being aware of what the government is doing on every level. Okay? And actually having these discussions with our children. If you have to pull the tablet or the phone away from them for a moment just to talk to them, do so. But when you see something that's going to affect your children, have a discussion. Okay, they're passing this law based on this, and this is how it's going to affect us straight people. Okay, this is what they're doing, and this is how it affects us, children. Okay, have that discussion. Okay, let's go down the line. Okay, we have 702 area code 702. The curse of the over-emotional man. How do we fix it? Okay, how do we fix it? Above all, we need men as the example of what a man is. Okay, and I'm going to tell you, it's going to come a time where and I'm going to talk about this next week. Sister's going to have to let go and let these men raise their boys. Okay, and not use the government restraint on these men. Okay, to help these boys, because sometimes there's a thing in the system in which a man has to fight his other half or the mother of the child to actually train his boy to be a man. That's another discussion in itself. Where a man will chastise the young man, and then a mother be trying to coddle him and all that, and then speak against the father who's correcting the boy, understanding what's out there against him. You understand? We're going to talk about that next week, about the curse of the masculine woman. Next week, we're almost done, only a few more calls. And I'm going to bring you back in a moment, Brother Malcolm, but articulate it, get it together, formulate it, because we have to go. I had to make sure we get through our calls, but I didn't forget you. I'm coming back at you. Okay. We have 702, then 816, Brother Barazal in Michigan. But let's go to 702 first. 1 minute per call. Talk to me. How do we fix the curse of the over-emotional man?
Hey, Shalom, Elder. This is Gabar from Vegas. How you doing? Bless.
Shalom. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. I'll see you soon. Talk to me.
All right. So how we fix this? It comes to accountability all the way around. And I'm thinking of the scripture in 2 Peter chapter 1, verses 3 down, understanding promises and what pertains to life and godliness. But in verse 5, it says that we give our diligence to add to our faith virtue. That word virtue means proper manliness, valor, being men of valor. And it takes a village to raise a child. So all the men have to become accountable all the way around to make sure that we are the pillars safeguarding our community on every level. And relying on the Most High in these times, because we know the wicked is going to continue to be wicked. We just have to make sure that we are being that. Those of us that know and understand coming up in the ranks have to teach those coming in, holding them accountable and showing them a righteous example. And I believe we're gonna stand. We know this world to come is only for a few. So timely broadcast. Bless you, the family, and continue putting that work in, Elder. Shalom.
Shalom, and thank you, brother. And another thing we can do to fix this, okay? We have to watch our children, especially our young men, extracurricular activity that's going on after school. We have to watch who we allow our sons to spend the night over with, if at all. All those sleepovers and all that is a recipe for disaster in which that child can be scarred the rest of its life. Okay, my father was never into a young boy, a young stranger from up the street sleeping up in a bunk bed with his sons. No, there ain't no sleepovers. He says the sleepover is when you get out of my house and get yourself a woman. That's the sleepover. Okay? There's nothing about no young men sleeping next to a young boy on a twin bed that looks good. Okay? We have to really, especially with what they're pushing right now, make sure that we are cognizant of our children's extracurricular behavior, especially the young men. If they're on a team, find out what's up with the coach and make sure he's not on some list as a sex offender, because usually sex offenders find their way around young boys. They are well more calculating than you can ever imagine. Find out who's teaching your child in school. Stop saying, well, I need some extracurricular programs for my son, so I'm going to put him in Boy Scouts, where we know ain't nothing but what boy sitting around a fire looks good to you. Okay, so all that stuff, all those little boy programs, the girl club, boy club, and I'm not going into the sisters right now, but here's a segue. Sisters, make sure your daughter will never play basketball in school. That's a hub for lesbianism. That's a lesbian club on the low, right in your face. And I'm going to go into that next week. Okay? Your daughter ain't got no business bouncing a basketball. Hold on, let me put this on pause. Your daughter have no business bouncing a basketball, running up and down like some sweaty man up and down the court. The WNBA in women's basketball will always be a failure. It's a failure. It's nothing more than a lesbian push on your daughters. I'm going to go there. That's a segue to next week. The curse of the masculine woman. Watch the extracurricular activity and really watch grown folk that want to hang around children all the time. There's something abnormal, wrong about that. Okay? I just like kids. I'm just here for the kids. I'm a mentor. Nah. You're looking at a rapist, a molester, 9 times out of 10, especially if they're not married. Okay? Now, you got some that's married that's sneaking around doing what they got to do, but especially the single ones. Knocking on doors, have to tell people within a 2-mile radius, knocking on doors, I'm a sex offender. That's what they be doing. Get it together now. Let's go down the line. The curse of the over-emotional man. Let's talk about it. Brother Yashar, New York, talk to me. Brother Wayne from New Jersey, then Sister Latanya. We going down the line. Talk to me. 1 minute. Talk to me.
Elder, you dropping it. Psalms 83 tells us they take crafty counsel to cut us off, right? You look at Abraham's birth, a star appeared. The sorcerers knew that Abraham's birth was the end of their kingdom. You look at Christ's birth, the wise men, right? They knew that Christ's birth was the end of their kingdom. And you know what? It's the same today. The awakening of Israel, brothers following the law, black and Latinos marriages, brothers no longer leaning on farm to keep, using their herds to the Most High. It's the same sign that what? Babylon is falling. And that's why, what can we do? That's why the scripture says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. Because when you read our history and you read the scriptures, it was clearly a concise attack on the temple. And now that our bodies is the temple, they're trying their best attack on what? Our temple, our body, our mind, our families, our men. And that's why they're trying to feminize the men. Because they know who we are, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, the kings, the priests, and the warriors of our nation. It's like we're in a society and our enemies are trying to reverse prophecy, but you can't reverse a work that's done by Hashem Yeshaya. Elder, I'm going to just leave with this. You hit it on the nose in the beginning when you said Christ was the most caring, but he was not soft. And the reason why I felt that, because Christ was the perfect example of love and what love is. And I'm understanding that when the scriptures say we have no truth, there's no truth in the land, knowing that Christ is the truth, we have no moral compass of what love is. You correct somebody today, they're offended. You tell somebody they're trying to do better, they're crying, they're upset. When the Bible tells you in Proverbs 3 and 12, the Most High has a relationship with us as a father and a son. So when it comes back to what do we need to do, Elder, for those of my brothers who has been dealing with that feminization due to like lack of masculinity in the house, like maybe single parent household, you gotta read Psalm 27:10 when the Most High said, when my mother and
come on, speed it up now, come on,
take me up, and I say that I'm a few seconds.
Wrap it up, come on.
Abraham, Joseph, Joshua, those was men of the Most High. You know, just we gotta evaluate ourselves and be able to humble ourselves and go learn from men of the Most High. Because like our brothers say, the Bible could teach us how to be a man. Elder Gabar taught me how to go under a hood and change stuff. Other people in the congregation are teaching me how to grow up and become more of a man myself. Elder, I yield. You brought it out.
Thank you, my brother. Strong point. And I want to talk about this because we're back on the curse of the over-emotional man. Okay? I never was in that. I played basketball and sports growing up, but I wasn't never into that. Okay, I just hit a jumper and some guy gonna come slap me, you know. Nah, I'm not into that. I was straight up. Listen, nah, congratulate me. We can high five or whatever. No slaps on the fanny. A real man ain't gonna allow no man to sit there and slap him on the behind. Okay. Another thing, I'm putting it out there for your children who playing sports, you young men. Okay. I played sports, and you know where I took a shower? At home. That's not a normal thing for you to sit around. I felt uncomfortable seeing that some guys would just right out, just take off their towel and just walk in a room somewhere butt naked. Something is wrong with that. Something is gay or soft with that. Okay? No, listen. You shower before you play ball. And then just like we played on the courts, there was no showers out there. After you finish playing ball, you grab your gear, you go home and you take a shower. Same thing. Because why? If it's not the boys that's looking at other boys up in these showers today, or back then, it was the coaches. Now he going to come in and try to have a meeting in the midst of a shower. Yeah, great game. He's sitting there peeking around. Yeah, great game. Y'all had. Yeah, the good three. Yeah. Make sure you double dribble next time. Let's go. Sister Latanya, North Carolina, talk to me.
Shalom, family, shalom. Elder, look, oh my goodness. I drink water like a fish. So I was at the library, and I'm going to the bathroom, and I saw this guy going to the bathroom. I'm like, okay. And then he goes into the woman's bathroom that I went into, Elders. And I walked in, I said, is she in the wrong restroom? He said, no, I'm trans something. I was like, oh my God. And I just turned and walked out. The thing I hate about that is I should have addressed him and told him he was a man, but, and I only get that from you guys. I mean, I don't watch the news. I listen to you guys, and that's how I do my language with people because, I mean, it's real out here.
Oh I see God. The elder there.
And fasting and praying, fasting and praying is the only thing that's going to bring in the ones that the Most High is going to call. Because a lot of them, they're into it and they don't want out, So fasting and praying and oh my gosh, I walked and here in North Dakota, I don't know about anywhere else, but in the college, I mean, it used to be black and white bathroom. It's black, white, and they got a transgender bathroom in the college here. I was like, oh no, I'm done. Shalom, family. I love you guys. And
hey, you know what?
Passover. Can we get something set up so I can take classes?
Okay.
For Passover, get baptized.
Yeah, I'll get something set up for you. I'll put your number down. Don't worry, but I got you, sister. All right. And I'll tell you this. I'm put you on hold.
Okay, thank you.
You welcome, sister. And I'll tell you this. Hey, I'm glad there's a transgender bathroom because I know which one. No one I know is walking in. Okay. I mean, yeah, they need a transgender sign so I'll know, where to stare from. So I wish, man. Maybe the Most High blessed me without not being able to have a daughter in this satanic evil world. I wish some big burly dude would walk up with a wig while my daughter's in the bathroom talking about I need to get in there. The Lord, the Most High must have known that it would not to give me a daughter. Excuse me, he coming in with a wig. He's 6'4". A neck like a tree trunk talking about he's going to use the woman's bathroom while my daughter up in there? No, brother, you about to, we about to do these man things. Elder Gabar. I got to bring in Elder Gabar. I didn't see you down there. I'm sorry, Elder. I see you. How do we fix this, Elder Gabar?
Shalom, how you doing?
Talk to me.
Well, I had to call that because I was listening to the show. And I think you bring it on in, but I think, okay, what do we change? And I think really we have to start looking at our church much more than just simply a church. We have to start looking at
Hey, Gabar, are you on the speaker? Are you on a speakerphone? Because you're a little muffled.
Muffled? Okay, I don't know. What about now, Elder? Can you hear me now?
You're perfect. Come on.
Same thing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I think we have to start looking at the church as a nation, or rebuilding a nation, with the understanding that the people coming into this nation is a broken nation. So I think to combat these issues, we have to acknowledge what's going on, because what's happening is that you may have an average black or Latino kid in the hood growing up all his life not having a male counterpart or a male example how to be a man.
Yeah.
And I could use myself as an example.
Yeah.
When I was coming up, and my father died when I was 12 years old, very young, of diabetes. So after that, my mother kind of went through a struggle, raising 6 kids. And, right after my father passed away, I got very interested in martial arts. And, I got linked up, or my mother linked me up with a local karate school in Harlem with the late Professor Ernest Hyman. He was my first karate teacher. So after my father dying, and me being a 12-year-old kid and liking martial arts and karate flicks, I got into martial arts. And Professor Ernest Hyman kind of became my father figure from the age of 12 to 13 all the way to around 20. And although I did not have a father figure in my home, he kind of took that place, right?
Okay.
Now, but what I noticed, if I would not have not have that, right? All my teachers were women, right? I think my coach in high school was a man, but it was only 1 hour. Gym was about 1 hour. But everybody else that I saw, it kind of was my teachers. You have my mother, you have my aunts and things of that nature. All my teachers were females, were women. And a lot of them were Gentile women that could not really relate to me.
Okay.
So I think the Most High that I had, the martial arts kind of saved me, to kind of had a male figure of getting used to, being disciplined. And you got to be there on time. You have to make sure you do your push-ups and your katas, and you got to do your form. And after that, as a young man, being across one of the Hebrew Israelite camps in One West, then it kind of took over as my father figure and things of that nature. So I've been blessed, although my father died very early on.
Okay.
And my father very early on was a very disciplined male figure. Although he died young, he had he was there at those crucial times in my life. That I believe that if you catch a man between, I believe even as young as 5 and to the age of 13, they have to have those lessons they learn. It will take them for the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm using my history as an example, because now as a nation we're coming back knowing who we are, and we're coming in that most sisters that come into this church, they have children, are single themselves. So what we have to start doing, and of course with giving all, the things you mentioned previous about making sure that men that are around your child, your son, don't have any hidden agenda and things of that nature. And of course, we have to start doing that ourselves within our church.
Yeah.
But we have to start, the sisters have to start letting go a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm going to touch on that next week. I'm going to touch on that next week. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag with that. So We're gonna talk next week. The show is going to be overcoming the curse of the masculine woman.
Right, but I'm saying letting women have to sometimes let go.
Yeah.
And allowing another person outside of them or outside of the baby's father, the son's father, then 9 times out of 10 he may not be around.
Yeah.
Okay? If he's around, allow him to be around and work with him and things like that. But he's not around, women have to maybe let go and use the men within the church. They are in good standing, okay?
Yeah.
To kind of take that role as a big brother.
Okay. All right, but those are Gabar. Those are our solutions for next week. Thanks for helping me out, but by putting the cart before the horse now.
Okay. Well, I'll be here next week, and yeah. So because I think we're a broken nation, we have to start rebuilding it.
Yeah.
And when you go into culture, even in Africa, that indigenous culture, when a young boy doesn't have a biological father because he died or what have you, usually an uncle, usually the next of kin, takes that mantle. And now we have to start looking at ourselves as the next of kin.
Yeah.
As
But exactly. But Gabar, not to say that what you're saying. When we were growing up, there was a different time, right? The gay metrosexual type, the gay metrosexual type of in between man was far and in between, and the majority of mentors we had to choose from were actually masculine men. We can't even ask our women to trust mentors in this system today, who 9 times out of 10 are getting nonprofit money through the gay movement. They're the new mentors over children.
Yeah.
So it's more so to the degree in which we have to do it as a church and not even look at options on the outside of us at all. Because believe it or not, the liberals have made it where all the finances for underprivileged or civil right money or nonprofit money have been all funneled more so. The pie have been cut where LBGT is getting more of the finances when it comes to these programs now. Because to be black is a minority. To be woman is a minority. And on top of that, to be homosexual is a minority. So if you are all three, you can cut into the pie of the civil right and nonprofit money more than straight people.
10 seconds.
So the majority of the mentorship programs are being ran by women looking like dudes and men looking like women. Thank you. I'm going to place you on hold. I'm going to call you a little later. All right, Elder Gabar, great points. All right. Bless you. And that really concludes our show, but I have to there's a few more calls I have to take. Oh, man, there's a long line. Let me go down the line. I'm going to give you each 30 seconds each. Okay? Brother Talkis from New York, 30 seconds. How do we cure?
Can you hear me?
How do we fix it? Come on, talk to me.
It's going to be everything that everyone's been talking about. But from the food aspect, we need to stop. We need to check every ingredient and make sure that our kids, everyone, aren't getting certain things like soy, which mimics estrogen.
Hey, brother, you have to turn me off in the background. You have to turn me off in the background. It makes for bad radio.
Sorry. I'm in the hospital. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, come on.
Can you hear me now?
Come on, talk to me.
Yeah, so I was saying we got to check all the ingredients in the food, like soy. We can't be taking that because it mimics estrogen and it blocks your iron. Or like steaming nettles. Steaming nettles blocks the estrogen effect. And like we could take like pine tree pollen, which helps boost your testosterone and stuff. So it's going to be all these things from the food aspect to everything, to watching the kids doing the next generation and everything that everyone's been saying.
That's a good point, and we mentioned that earlier, brother. I'm gonna place you on hold. Yeah, you're right on point. We must watch what we're consuming. Don't trust anything, especially the vaccines. Vaccines are the enemy number one to our children. Vaccines, again, are the enemy number one to all of us. when it comes to their biological warfare against our system. And then you have to watch on top of that the medications with these side effects, the estrogen that they're putting in certain things and all that. Women, you have to be careful with the birth controls, because the birth controls are giving you a pass not to have children and keep your skirt together and all that right now, which is the Bible say keep your shape in order. But the whole deal is the consequences, health and otherwise, will be unbearable in a few years. So watch that. They're putting all their sneaky stuff in the things we use on a regular basis, and thereby destroying our nation. Okay? And believe it or not, they're over-masculizing the women. I'm going to talk about that next week. Brother Will from New York, 30 seconds. Talk to us. How do we fix this?
Yes, good evening. I definitely agree with the brother earlier about the food. You know, a lot of hormones being pumped into some of the food, and I'm sure this could trigger certain thinking patterns and activities. Now, we should also practice like fasting. I'd say discipline. You know, fasting brings a lot of discipline. You know, it's good to afflict the flesh every now and then. You know, whether from food or from you know, drinking or you know, orgasms. Like although
okay, hurry up, brother. I'm going to the next call. 30 seconds. Come on.
All right. And here's a
10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Now, I'm not saying. Look, check it. I'm not saying I agree with the whole gay thing, but for some reason, you know, I sometimes think, yo, this gotta be natural. Reason why I say this is because I don't see myself.
Hold up. I'm gonna give you 10 more. I'm gonna give you 20 more extra seconds. Okay? Because it seemed like they got to you, brother. There's no such thing. No. Listen to me. You're not going to convince me. Listen, I'm going to let you roll.
I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just saying this is something. Look, I'm just saying because I don't see myself all of a sudden, you know, I'm attracted to the opposite. So I don't see all of a sudden, you know, I don't care if it's a vaccine. I mean, I've been vaccinated, you know, when I was younger. Now, but
what you mean natural, brother? What you mean natural? What do you mean natural, brother? Stick with me. What do you mean homosexuals being natural?
When I think natural, okay, well, I'm not saying it's a natural like act, but I'm saying they're naturally attracted to, you know, the same sex, I guess. You know, because
what are you talking about?
I'm not saying this is I'm not saying this is a good thing, but what I'm saying it's what it is. I mean, because you have they say the human is really a spirit being inside of having a physical experience. So
a physical experience.
The spirit could be either masculine or feminine. Say if a feminine spirit comes into a male body or a feminine, because sometimes you see this out here.
And how does that happen? How does a feminine spirit come to? Stick with me. How does a feminine spirit come into a male body? Talk to me.
Well, what I'm saying, you see them out here. You see some, like there are artists out here who are.
Okay, so you're gonna start talking about artists. I need to, brother. Maybe you don't know how to articulate yourself. Give me the example how a feminine. Listen. Give me an example how a feminine goes into a masculine body. Give me that example.
Okay, sir. I mean, I can't give you
exactly. I'm gonna place you on hold. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna place you on hold. It's good. I just wanted to put that out there. I'm gonna show you the effects of the spirit of Sodom and Gomorrah. If they push it long enough and hard enough, it'll have those who know better to begin to think it's natural. and begin to make excuses for it and give examples for it. Okay. And, you know, I guess this is a perfect segue into our next program, because I'm glad he called, because I believe the brother, he's straight. But it's a shame when they convince straight people that homosexuality is natural. If it was natural, there would be no use in them using atrazine as a pesticide to feminize men. It would naturally happen. Okay? If it was natural, then we wouldn't hear about these inordinate stories over and over with R. Kelly and others who said they began to become over-sexualized and not value what sex was based on their abuse of being molested before they understood what sex was. If it was natural. If it was natural, they would just grow without a grown adult imposing sex on them and make a choice accordingly. So it's not natural. It's influenced. There's an entry point for everything. What's natural? What's natural is when a child is born before they have the mind to make any decision, and the doctor look between the legs and see a man child. That's natural. That's a man child. That's natural. Okay? We're not going to skew what natural is. When the doctor look between the legs of a newborn female and see a woman child, that's natural. Now, if you can say that through a progression of time, they're influenced or chemically induced to think unnatural. Okay? Or they've been molested and that leads to them thinking unnatural. Then we can bring natural in. But you can't say because now everyone is coming up gay now that it must be natural. That means what? You're under the curse of the over-emotional man. I digress. 573 area code. Talk to me.
Hello, Elder.
Come on. 30 seconds.
I just wanted to say that Elder Gabar, what he was saying, those are some very key points. And we have to stop letting society think it's okay to show men feminized and with makeup on and dresses, and we have to stop letting our children and other children think it's okay. Because in middle school, for me, which wasn't long ago, was like 8 years ago, my middle school PE coach was a female and she was gay, and we told her because she was looking at us changing in the locker room.
See?
We told on her to the principals, and we got in trouble.
So you got this lesbian looking at the young girls getting dressed, and you got in trouble for telling on this peeping Tabitha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we told on her, and our principals didn't do anything about it. A girl told on her and got sent to ISS, which is a place in a room where you sit and you're not with the other students.
Yeah.
So it's like they're putting in our brain that it's okay to not, for, you know what I mean, for men and women to not be together, but it's okay for women and men and men to be together.
Sister, I'm glad you're bringing this out because it only confirms some of the things we've pointed out in protecting our children going forward. I'm going to place you on hold, and we'll probably give you more time next week, okay? Because, you know, the show is at an end. All right? Thank you, sister.
All right, I'm still on Elder.
Bless you, bless you, bless you. All right. We have Sister Keisha, PA. Talk to us, Keisha. 30 seconds. Come on.
Yes. Shalom. I just want to say, when my son, he's going on 12, but when Israel was about 9, I took him to the book of Leviticus 18 and verse 22, and I let him read that for himself. Let him read that periodically for himself. And then I got connected about 2 years after that with G.O.C.C. Philly. And I'm grateful for Bishop Amar, Brother Levi, Brother Bobby, Deacon Jermaine, how they took him under their wing to build character in him, because I knew he needed that to be a growing boy, that I couldn't give him the things that he needed to go into his manhood So I was desperately on a mission for the first 2 years before I got to G.O.C.C, knowing that I had to get from there, and I wanted to definitely get him there before he had turned 13. But I got there last May. So like, I'm grateful. Bishop Rawchaa worked well with him. My son has grown, and he knows that it's an abomination.
Great.
You know, when he sees men dressed like that, Mommy, isn't that an abomination? He knows that's not the way to go, that a man should not lie with a man and with the humankind.
Great.
You know, so you would do like the other young lady said, you do have to start when they're very, very young. You have to give them the scripture and let them read it for themselves to see what the Most High is saying. So that's all I want to have to say. And just thank you for G.O.C.C Philly, yourself, and Bishop Amos, and all the brothers there that are instilling in him to walk into his manhood.
Thank you, sister. You're right on point. And guess what? Hey, I see women having trouble trying to walk in high heels. They darn sure not made for a man. Let's go. Let's go. We only got one more call. Let's go. Last call. We have Brother Tyreek in Massachusetts. Talk to me.
Hey, Elder Shalom.
Shalom.
Well, I think you need to teach young men how to be held accountable and responsible, and not throw a pity. I want a pity fight from people.
Yeah.
A lot of these men nowadays, they don't want to be held accountable for anything.
Yeah.
Usually, it's society teaching them that it's okay to blame others, but men know how to take responsibility for their actions, work them out, you know, and move on with it. That's one thing we need to teach our young men to do. And also, don't let society make you feel bad for just being a man. You know, society wants to make you feel bad for just being, you know, a man. You know, they want you to feel emotions for everything. They want you to make excuses for everything.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's right. But that's the way at least I was raised. So
yeah,
I think if you start ripping men off like that, and then, you know, they'll work on it as they get older, then they'll figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, brother, great point. Well, today this concludes our broadcast. Today, all praises be the Most High, Ahaya Bahashim Yeshaya Warawak. That concludes our broadcast. The lesson today, or the discussion, the curse of the over-emotional man. And a lot came out during this 2.5 hours of serious information and discussion. And hopefully we take this discussion with the word of the Most High back into our communities to make that immediate change until we all are together in Zion. Don't stop here. Take this information and protect our children. And guess what? Let's allow our men, according to the Most High, to be men. And men, stand up. Elder Lawya, you have anything to say before we conclude?
No, sir. No, sir. I think tonight's broadcast, where we're leaving it now, is a perfect segue for next week. So let's save the best for next week.
We're going to save it and stay tuned next week, same time. The curse of the what? Of the we're going to call it the curse of the masculine woman. How to undo the curse of the masculine woman coming next week. We're going to get this gender thing together, aren't we? Yes, we are. Shalom, stay strong, stay prayed up, brothers and sisters, and sin not, we'll soon see Zion. Shalom.
Shalom.
The East is where we're from.
Good, man. Good.
12 tribes of the
The elders of the Gathering of Christ Church would like to invite you to enroll in the new upcoming Hebrew and Bible Academy, which begins December 23rd. The Academy is a 3-month online course which includes 12 live biblical lessons taught by the elders every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We deliver weekly analyzed news with Elder Rawchaa and Deacon Shapat with commentary on how it relates to Bible prophecy. Elder Rawchaa insightfully teaches each online Bible lesson in a personal classroom setting to enrich your learning experience. Additionally, Elder Lawya provides an introduction to the original Hebrew language, including grammar and conversational Hebrew. For new and returning students, now is a great time to enroll, as we are happy to announce that we have added never-before-taught lessons on Daniel 9, the prophecy of the final 7 years, the Battle of Armageddon, and the 1,000-year reign. This intensive course has been meticulously customized and enriched with PDF booklets and downloadable videos, automatically emailed to you after every live lesson. Enroll today at historytimes.org or email us at gatheringas1@aol.com. We look forward to seeing you there.